Wyoming. Only been there one time in my life, and it was crazy. Almost got drove off the road. Crazy trucker. Some weird guy in a truck with a Confederate flag and a gun in it. Got out of his truck and wanted to admire my truck. Then he starts telling me why he had to leave another state because he was running drugs. He asked me if I smoked. Yeah, it was wild. Montana's wild. All right, let's get into it. As always, guys, welcome to the Badwolf Unincorporated channel, your home of all things truth that they don't want you to know, but they are your rights. And anybody who's against your rights, anybody who puts a thumb down in the comments section, you are a traitor to the United States of America. Or I dated your girlfriend, or I'm currently with her, and you're mad and you're salty nuts. Or you're an ex and you're salty, or you're a lawyer, or some cop, whatever it is, I don't really care. Because there's a whole lot more people out there that like this information. They're doing it right, and it is our freedoms, our rights, and our liberty. So you can hate me now, but I won't stop now. Because this is me doing my thing on the video screen. And all you can do is put a thumbs down. So let's get into it. For the rest of my great people, which is 99.999 East, 99 is where you find me. I appreciate every one of you guys and your positive energy, comments, prayers, donations. So blessings to you guys and yours. May no enemy, in whatever form it takes out there, again you prosper. Let them be made your footstools. And keep shining so bright that the darkness has to put on sunglasses and hides in the night. Now, in the name of the Creator, let's get going. I know I am. All right, all right, all right. Oh, hold on. You think I'd have this ready? Give me 1 second. Doobie doobie doo. Do 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 doobie doobie doo. Okay, there we go. Oh, now I've lost the screen. Oh, there it is. Got him. All right, let's make it hot, AI. All right, so Wyoming. Yeehaw! All right, they've got the Wyoming Department of Transportation. Wyoming is extremely light in regulation compared to most states and has fewer statutes, nothing on private travel, nothing on private automobiles, a heavy commercial bias, but this creates massive jurisdictional gaps. Wyoming only has two statutes that even mention non-resident vehicles, and both are completely commercial. Wyoming has zero statutes that regulate private travel, non-commercial, non-resident travel. So let's just see what it says, okay?
3. Relevant Wyoming statutes. 1. Wyoming Stat Section 31-2-201, Registration of Vehicles, Non-Residents. This is Wyoming's main non-resident statute.
What?
It says, non-residents who have valid registration from their home state may use their vehicle in Wyoming for up to 120 days without Wyoming registration.
So what are they saying here? Number one, the state of Wyoming is a for-profit corporation, a public entity registered to the federal government and is subservient and inferior to such, though they have a certain large amount of their own. But they, state of Wyoming, is not the same thing as Wyoming State, which is the ground for Wyomings, or whatever you guys are called out there. So, what they're saying here, they're trying to use a little Jedi mind trick, a little fudgery, if you will. So they're saying if you're a non-resident, somebody that they don't have jurisdiction and control over, who has a valid registration from their home state, you've done it correctly, you made your own, may use their vehicle, meaning yours. Here's where, here is where the commercial indicator application takes place, and it is the Jedi mind trick, the swap. In is the modifier, Wyoming. This is not, they're not talking about the geographical area. They're talking about the computer paperwork registration network.
Sorry, what can I help you with?
None.
Okay.
For up to 120 days without Wyoming registration.
What was that?
Nothing. Take a nap.
Sounds like a perfect plan. Sweet dreams, James.
I told you they'd be listening. Wyoming registration is a commercial thing for public entities, public persons, legal persons, private persons. So they're saying if you have a valid registration from your home state, you may use your vehicle. So essentially, this means it's exempt. Then they go on to say, but in Wyoming, 400 days without registration. Well, they can't force you to register anything unless you're doing commercial public activity. That is what their administration is charged with. None of this says anything about private. Non-resident is technically private. Your home state is private, but then they throw a modifier in there. This is what the legal team does to try to encompass everything. So anybody trying to be private goes, well, I guess I'm physically standing here in the Wyoming area. Like I mean, this seems to apply to me. What they're saying is if you're a non-resident from another state and you're doing business in Wyoming, or you register, or you start to uh, become a resident by doing residential, commercial, business, public things, you have 120 days before you have to register it here. So this is kind of like their way of saying, hey, look, if you're from another state and you're doing business, and even if you're a non-resident of ours from another state, if you come here and start to do business, you have a maximum of 120 days to be here doing your little stuffy stuff before we're going to require you to have a registration.
Registration. Interpretation. This applies only to vehicles already registered in a public/commercial system. It does not apply to heavy checkmark privately owned, non-commercial automobiles. Heavy checkmark non.
But you see how they wrote it? It's so cleverly written that now you have to be smart enough to understand what they're saying, who they are, what they have control over, what they don't, in order to do your thing. And if you don't figure it out, cool, come on in. The water's fine. No thanks, Diddy. I'm good. And take your pants off. Nope. So yeah, this is what some of their legal. So they're not wrong. You could say it's a type of micro lawfare. Lawfare meaning using the law as warfare against you. They're throwing a big net, but their net can't capture the private citizen. We slipped through the hole. Sorry, not today, Diddy. But if you're not smart enough and the net comes over you and you grab the net, which means you're saying, "Oh yeah, capture me." No, no, no. Your eyes say no, but your hands say yes. Well, then you fit. You're their property. Come on in.
Non-residents traveling privately heavy checkmark unregistered private conveyances. Wyoming never created a statute requiring such private travelers to register. Critical omission. 2. Wyoming Stat Section 31-2-205, Reciprocity for Commercial Vehicles. This section covers vehicles for hire, motor carriers, transportation of goods or passengers, business use vehicles. This is explicitly commercial. Not a single line addresses. Private conveyances, private travel, private non-residents, constitutional right to travel. Another omission. 4. What Wyoming does not have, major omissions. After multi-pass statutory search and legislative history review, Wyoming has Crossmark NO statute requiring non-residents to register private, non-commercial vehicles. Crossmark NO statute defining private automobile. Crossmark NO statute defining private travel. Crossmark NO statute defining resident for purposes of registration. Crossmark NO statute criminalizing mere private travel by a non-resident. Crossmark NO statute distinguishing travel from transportation. Crossmark NO statutes addressing non-domestic vehicles not engaged in commerce. Crossmark NO statutes compelling a non-resident private traveler to obtain a Wyoming driver's license. This puts Wyoming at the extreme low end of regulatory authority. Enforcement, therefore, depends on officer assumption, DMV policy, commercial code misinterpretation, not statute, perfect ground for void for vagueness challenges. V definitions reveal commercial intent. Wyoming definitions, Title 31, include motor vehicle used in traffic, commerce. Driver, one who drives. Blacks, one employed in transportation. Operate, use or control of a motor vehicle. Traffic, movement of vehicles, historically commercial. Vehicle for hire, expressly commercial. Wyoming never defines private automobile, private conveyance, traveler, right to travel. Thus, commercial terms are the only regulated categories. Private individuals plus private travel equals not addressed by statute. 6. Wyoming legislative history findings. A review of amendments, committee notes, and historical commentary shows. Chapter 31 began as a commercial/public safety code. Heavy focus on fees, taxation, motor carriers, highway commerce, fuel tax enforcement. No intent to regulate private right to travel. No attempt to define resident for registration purposes. This supports your organic/private positioning. Wyoming regulates public commercial activity, not private human travel. 7. Constitutional analysis, overlay. Right to travel authorities. Sines v. Roe, 1999. Shapiro v. Thompson, 1969. Crandall v. Nevada, 1867. Kent v. Dulles, 1958. These hold that travel is a fundamental right that cannot be conditioned on licensing, registration, or administrative permission. Because Wyoming has no statute restricting private travel by non-residents, any attempt to regulate it would violate
Due process, equal protection, privileges and immunities, Ninth and 10th Amendments, right to travel doctrine. Booyah Kasha.
violate due process, equal privileges, 9th and 10th, right to travel 8. Wyoming's weak points, your advantage. Weak point A, no statutory duty for non-resident private travelers.
If you don't have a law on it, you can't regulate it. You can't regulate it, you can't enforce it. So the police officer, most of which think they overstand the law, they understand certain aspects of it, generally just traffic safety. They think that that means that anything on the streets is just public. It's all us. It's not how it works. There are exceptions to their rules. There's exceptions to these things. They're not fully informed. They only know a piece of the law. And no offense, but they don't study constitutional law and they don't understand, well, they don't overstand that there's a public and a private. They don't fully overstand the information of what's going on here. And what they do is a part of commerce and public. It's a mix. That's their side. But everybody outside their house does not make you public or commercial. They don't even really realize that they're doing commerce, but they're writing tickets. That is commerce. That is public business. Money is exchanging. That's why they are also party to the UCC, and the states are. If the states are party to the UCC, and the UCC book, what does UCC stand for? Uniform Commercial Code. And if the police station is registered to the state, and we know they are, then they're in commerce too. The courts in commerce.
Wyoming statutes contain no requirement that a non-resident must register a private, non-commercial vehicle.
The law states that even if the government, if the federal government ever started doing business for profit, then they are no different than a corporation and lose their power. It's the same thing for the states. It's the same thing for the police station. I've never heard once anybody ever say that the police are nonprofit. Am I wrong? Can somebody prove me wrong? Come on, Mr. Lawyers, police officers, at least the ones that don't like this information. I don't see where you're proving this information wrong. One or the other, either you're for profit or you're not. And if they're for profit, but they're supposed to be for the community, guess what? Somebody's making a whole lot of money on these traffic tickets and court cases. I've never heard of, unless I'm wrong, once again, prove me wrong, where the police station donated a whole bunch of money to widows, orphans, the zoo, anything. So you mean to tell me that there's a whole board member out there making millions upon millions of dollars off of us in a for-profit capacity, and none of that money, we seem to keep giving them money. Do you understand the levels of this? The police are like, oh, we need better weapons, we need this. So then they ask the public, and then we give them money. But there's a whole board who's profiting. I don't know their names. I'm not going to look them up. I'm not going to put them on blast. I'm just saying y'all need to start thinking about what's going on. Also, kind of funny, the music you listen to from Hollyweird, your favorite artists, and the companies that approve all of that music, especially all the trash. I mean, all of it really, but it's a lot of trash music, is programming you. It's a what do you call it? Uh, Not a montage, but it's a type of psychological programming where they subject you to the same thing over and over and over until trying to get you to act degenerate. It's okay that I dress like a prostitute. It's okay that I'm out here acting like a thug or whatever else. It's cool. It's cool to be stupid. It's cool to not know anything. You know why? Because that makes them money. then at the end of the day, those same music corporations that promote that have money in the jails and prisons, privately owned. I would think that one of my arguments would be if this is a private prison or whatever else, um, how if I'm a U.S. citizen, how am I being held privately then? I would argue that. I don't have an agreement with these private people. You may have one. If you're going to arrest somebody, then it needs to be a public prison, publicly owned, state owned. That's an argument all day. But if you start looking into those agreements, you start seeing that the states have agreements with these prisons to maintain a certain amount of people, which then the states then tell the cops, the sheriffs, and all that, hey, you need to go out there and do your job so it looks good. Be harder on those people out there. Don't take any shit. Sounds like a conflict of interest to me. Policing for profit. That's a big RICO thing if somebody ever sat down and put it all together. Huge lawsuit. System changing.
9. Arguments you can use in Wyoming. 1. No registration duty exists for non-resident private travelers. Title 31 contains no statutory requirement compelling a non-resident to register a private conveyance. 2. Undefined resident makes the statute unenforceable. Without a statutory definition, due process prohibits arbitrary enforcement. 3. Commercial definitions cannot be applied universally. Title 31 definitions are commercial and do not describe a natural person traveling privately. 4. Constitutional right to travel. The state cannot convert a right into a privilege by presumption or silence. 5. Legislative intent is commercial only. Wyoming never intended to regulate private travel, only commercial activity. Summary, Wyoming Right to travel status. Heavy checkmark Wyoming regulates. Commercial carriers. Vehicles for hire. Transportation of goods or passengers. Registered out-of-state vehicles used commercially. Commercial reciprocity agreements. Heavy checkmark Wyoming does not regulate. Private non-commercial travel. Private conveyances. Private non-resident automobiles. Nationals of the United States traveling privately. Licensing for private non-resident travel. Registration of private non-commercial out-of-state vehicles. Wyoming is one of the most favorable states in the entire U.S. for right to travel and non-resident registration challenges.
All right. So that is it. That is it. Mm. Now, I have a really important thing to share with you guys. It's going to sound a little weird, but I'm going to need all of the females to turn the video off at this point in time. This is only for the males out there. I normally don't do this, but something has occurred that must be addressed, and I need only the guys. I need only the guys to pay attention to this part. All right. So, ladies, please excuse yourselves. Let's give them a second. Gentlemen, For the first time since the beginning of mankind, there's been many heroic, valiant feats that men have done for the progression of the world and for we as males. Hey, wait a minute. I see a female. No, no, it's not for you. Turn off your phone. Okay, she's gone. I just want to let you guys know that this week I struck a blow, a victory, and I want to share it with you. I stand before you as no mere male, but a man. And I am proud to say, after a valiant battle, I'm the first dude to get a hoodie back from a chick. Though it's a true story, and it is this one. For the first time, gentlemen, a hoodie has come back home, and it is this one. You guys take care and have a great night. I appreciate you. See you guys next year. Unless I rope myself into doing more videos, but we'll see. Talk to you later, guys. Stay funny. Enjoy life.